So about once a year, our youth director, Donovan, orders these little tiny Jesus, I think 300, and we've got a red stash and a purple stash. So I found Jesus this morning. Always a plus. The 1997 film Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil is an essay in contrasts. In it, a writer from New York City, played by John Cusack, love me some John Cusack, finds himself in Savannah, Georgia, surrounded by an eccentric cast of characters. Coming from the fast-paced Big Apple, it takes Cusack some time to adjust to the nuances of the Deep South. For one, people talk slower than he's used to. Every word is accented by a delightful Southern drawl. And most importantly, perhaps, what the Savannah residents say to him on occasion is not always as it seems. The big city writer finds himself awash in a community with a penchant for understatement. Here are a few examples of that. While the film is set in the 1980s, a woman refers to the Civil War, which happened more than 100 years ago, as that recent unpleasantness. It's been a while. When an intruder interrupts a fancy dinner party, firing a pistol into the sky, gripping a jagged edge of a whiskey bottle, and menacingly threatening harm with it, guests describe them coolly as a colorful character. And when a man is sentenced to federal prison for embezzlement, he's said to have been snared by a little accounting error. This is embezzlement. Amid a culture not his own, the big city writer struggles to grasp what exactly people mean. The movie, in its own way, is a masterclass in cultural competence. Cusack's character slowly, over time, learns to interpret what is going around him in new ways. My wife and I have been to Savannah a couple of times. We love this town. We watched this movie this past week for fun. Savannah is indeed a special place. Now, if you and I were to travel to first century Palestine, we too might have a similar experience as this New York City writer in a foreign environment. And this challenge definitely comes up in our gospel passage today from Luke 14. Whoever does not hate his father and mother, wife and child, brother and sister, Jesus says in verse 26, rather surprisingly, whoever does not hate all of them cannot be my disciple. That we should hate family contradicts the 10 Commandments, the greatest commandment, the golden rule. Just to name a few, there's something that doesn't quite sit right with this. If God so loved the world, that's got to include family, right? Surely Jesus doesn't mean this. During Bible study this Tuesday morning, our group really grappled with this text. We stuck with it for a while. Hate's a strong word. Ann Moeller mentioned that as a parent, she encouraged her children to use other language. Try, dislike, detest, maybe don't enjoy anything but hate. Kathy and I do the same with our kids. Let's try and find some other way to put it, we'll say. Anything but that. And yet all the most commonly used English language Bibles in circulation right now, including the King James Version, the NIV, the ESV, the New Living Translation, and what we use here, the NRSV Updated Edition, all of them translate the original Greek word in this passage, mazeo, using the same English word. They all translate it as hate. It's enough to make you kind of want to squirm. I don't think I want to hate my family. So what might this passage in the context of 2 millennia ago mean? I'd suggest that the key to understanding this particularly troubling verse in today's gospel from Luke 14 is to view it from a certain lens. While the Savannah residents of that fun Clint Eastwood film were gifted in understatement, rabbis of Jesus' time excelled in another rhetoric form, hyperbola. Hyperbola is pretty much the opposite of understatement. It is overstating something to dramatic effect. It intentionally aims to drive home a point. hyperbole has shock value. It gets your attention. And in this text, clearly, it works. So if Jesus is not asking us to hate family to be his disciple, our Bible study group thankfully universally agreed to this, what might this verse mean? Hold on to that question. We're going to come back to it in a little bit. Christ continues in the text by saying being a disciple requires something of us. It actually requires a lot of us. To be a disciple, we must first count the cost. Jesus gives 2 examples. Imagine you want to build something. To do it right, you need to compile a list of materials and compute what you'll need to spend on those materials and secure labor for the project and to make sure you have enough that you can pay for the labor for the project. Do you have enough money for the whole thing? Do you have enough time to complete it? For your build to be a success, you must first count the cost. Or imagine you rule a country and you want to wage war. You need to know how many troops are available along with their skills. It would help to understand the terrain and how many troops your opponent has. Are your troops going to be enough? Can you justify this loss of life? For your campaign to be a success, you must first count the cost. This summer, over the course of several months, our family busied ourselves with preparing for my father-in-law's house, getting it ready for sale. My wife, Kathy, is an only child, so when it came to the death of her parents, the task of dealing with their possessions fell on us. So far, we've taken multiple trips to Chicago, including over the 4th of July weekend, Labor Day weekend, just last weekend, right after church, zipped off we went. We carved out as much time as we could. It's been a lot of work. Now, the throwing away of trash, that part was easy. Other decisions took more time. Sell, donate, or keep. Item by item by item we went. Organizing, boxing, moving, unboxing, garage sailing, donating, gifting, rehoming things in our house along the way. We kept the photos, but not the frames. Graham kept the die-cast tractors. He wasn't about the wooden trucks. Hannah loved a pair of Grandpa's cowboy boots and some of his sweatshirts. Most clothes simply went away. If you've lost your parents, perhaps you can relate. There are big feelings in this task. It's hard work, it's important work. Letting go of so much in these moments is necessary work. And when done well, we are better for it. The final criteria Christ shares for becoming his disciple is also a difficult one. Give up all your possessions. While this would make a great kickoff for our stewardship campaign, thank you for your continued giving, following a literal understanding of this too creates challenges. For starters, very few people do this. There's certainly examples of the early Christian church, monks, nuns, some groups there, but it is the exception and not the norm, to be sure. Could this verse also be overstated rabbinical hyperbole? Maybe. Yet if so, might our love of possessions still prevent us from following Christ well? Definitely. The Greek word for hate in verse 26, mezeo, can also mean to love less, to love less. This secondary meaning would instead say in this passage, whoever does not love less his father and mother, whoever does not love less wife and child, whoever does not love less brother and sister, they cannot be my disciple. Said differently, Jesus requires that we love him over and above everything else, including family, friends, status, possessions. This requires absolute fidelity to Christ. It is a reordering of our entire life. It asks that we set aside biases towards our neighbors who may not look like, think like, love like, live like, or act like us. To follow Christ above all else is to treat the gay the same as the straight. It is to treat the citizen the same as the refugee. It is to treat the millionaire the same as the pauper who sits outside our church doors. For each and every one, our beloved child of our Creator, made in the image of God. Too often, our culture pressures us to treat people differently based on any number of factors. To love our neighbors as ourselves without exception flies in the face of that. In this way, Jesus was and continues to be a radical. This is hard work. When you follow Christ above all else, your friends, your family, your social groups, they can't help but notice this. And they may not like it one bit. They may want you to continue to treat others as less than. Come on, keep doing this stuff. This continuous urge to conform to the ways of this world that are constant, ways that are not of God, this continuous urge to conform is real. Similar to cleaning out a house, to follow Christ is to remove the clutter that gets in the way. What do we possess that instead possesses us? What needs to be sorted, reordered, removed? May we purge from within what is not of God and reorder the rest with love of Christ above all. Got some bad news for you. Our Sunday morning Christians, that's not what our Creator needs. Sorry, everyone. Thank you for your attendance and participation and giving. God isn't looking for Sunday morning Christians. Our Creator needs our all 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. May we count this cost well, preparing for the road ahead. For no other form of Christ following will do.